Pansy, Noe Owen Naomi Bailey, Nahiao Kremeti OG Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, Nemiwidian Otas Nanemoch Aske Nina Ota Meti Kagwito, Ni Iya Miwidian Ota Wiwigan Sagitin Kiskiat Moen Ota Aski. My name's Naomi Bailey. I'm Cree Métis from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. I want to acknowledge I'm on the traditional unceded territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. This is also the chosen home of the Métis people. I am honored to be able to live, love, and learn on their land. With great respect and humility, we acknowledge and honor the lands of the Snuneymuxw people. The Snuneymuxw people maintain their profound, unique, and spiritual connection to the land through ageless traditions, teachings, stewardship, and expressions of reciprocity. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes in order to the agenda today? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, so Trustee Rokeby moves to approve it? Or was that Mark? Trustee Robinson, sorry. Do we have a seconder?
Chantal?
I'll second it.
Okay, Trustee Brozovic seconds it. Okay, the next is approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Chantal Morve, motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Morve. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded Brzovic.
Seconded Brzovic. Thank you. All right. With that, we move into presentations. And do we have any presentations tonight?
Hi, sorry, Chair. Can I interrupt?
Yes.
I was trying to get something in under new business. Did I miss that window?
Yes, that would have been up in additions to the agenda.
Oh, okay. Can I beg the board's indulgence for an information only timely announcement?
Yes, that's fine.
On the new business, thank you.
I second the addition of the I second the addition to the agenda.
Okay. Okay. So moving to presentations, I don't see any items down there, so we move to senior staff reports. And I'm going to turn this over to Assistant Superintendents Don Balcom and Jackie Poulin.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much. And through the chair, we will be, between Mr. Balcom and myself, and a couple of school presentations, doing a presentation on behalf of Department of Learning Services. I'm going to work to share my screen here and hope that everything works okay. Dawn, I got a thumbs up from Dawn, so it looks like we are good to go. Thank you so much. So, as was outlined in our board work plan, we will be providing information on each of the objectives and strategies for the operational plan throughout the year, as well as have school presentations that align with the objectives and strategies that we were speaking to that month. This month's objective that we are focusing on is to increase leadership capacity and excellence. We support our educational leaders in a variety of ways, such as principals and vice principal meetings, weekly updates, phone calls, Teams calls as needed, our managers learning series, school visits, and those are just a few things that we do to support them. The three more formal approaches that we'll be focusing on this evening is the principal and vice principal growth plan process, the leadership review process, and the school plan process. One way that we support our principals and vice principals is through a formal growth plan process that involves meetings with a critical friend to discuss their professional growth plan, the strategies and resources that they have to work towards their professional goals, and how their professional goals are connected to their school goals. Principals in each of our schools are the critical friends for their vice principal and meet with them obviously many times throughout the year, but also in some formal critical friend conversations. And members of the Department of Learning Services are critical friends for all of the principals in our system. Each member of the Department of Learning Services has about 5 to 8 principals as their critical friend. This process does require that each principal and vice principal develops their professional growth plan and formally meets with their critical friend a minimum of 3 times throughout the year, with many other informal meetings and conversations happening throughout the year. Most of us are wrapping up that first conversation now before the winter break, as we just look at what are some of their professional goals and what directions are they working towards. Another way that we support our educational leaders is through a formal leadership review process. This process has gone through with approximately 6 to 10 principals each year and with a number of our vice principals. Principals completed this process for their vice principal, similar to the growth plan process. So the principals complete the leadership review for their vice principal, and the assistant superintendents complete it for the principals as they come up. This process does include a comprehensive survey that goes out to their staff, as well as other individuals they have worked with in the district to gather feedback. Then they sit down together, they review the feedback, they review the growth plan that they've written, and they have conversation with the principal and vice principal. The process does wrap up with a leadership review report that outlines their strengths, their areas for professional learning and growth, and a concluding statement, and does become part of their personnel file. The goal is to ensure that every principal or vice principal has one done approximately every 5 years. They are not typically done in the first year that a principal or vice principal comes new into a role or is new to a school, as we want to give them an opportunity to settle into their communities and be able to get efficient and effective feedback from their school communities. Making a shift here from our educational leaders growth plan to the school plan process. And as you'll note before, I did indicate that many of the professional growth plans do align with the work that they're doing in their schools as well. We do have the formal school plan process. Every school is required to complete a school plan each year that aligns with the district goals. The template that's shown here is one that we implemented a year ago at the elementary level. It uses the inquiry cycle as the approach to developing a school plan. This is not the entire template. The images would have been too small to put them all up there for you. So it does just give you a little bit of a flavor of what the template looks like. The first 2 pages provide the context of what the school community is. It states the goals for the year. And please note that goals are often worked on over a number of years. It's not a case of changing goals every year, but it's working through them over a couple of years or even 3 to 4. The second page of this school plan process is actually not shown on this screen, but it is a page that is called a celebration story. And this is where the school shares their successes from the last year and what they feel that they have accomplished. It is these first 2 pages that are posted on our school websites throughout the year for families and school communities to be able to see. The other pages that are on this screen are the working documents that guide the school team through the planning process to determine their goals, strategies, observations, data, and how they will check on how they are doing. School plans are done collaboratively with staff and school communities, and they use a variety of data from satellite, map, and street to guide their direction. This leads us beautifully into a couple of school presentations to share a small piece of what they are working on in their school plans. We're going to welcome David Cooper, principal of Chase River Elementary, who is joined by a couple of members of his school team. He will then be followed by Jeff Steele, principal of Dover Bay Secondary, who also has, as you can see on the screen already, a number of members from his school team there as well. So I'm going to turn it over to David Cooper. Thank you for joining us, and to your staff for joining us, and I'll turn it over to you now.
Great, thank you, Jackie, and thank you everyone for having us today. Joe Duclos is with us, and he is a grade 4-5 teacher from our school, and also Claire James is a grade 2-3 teacher. Our goal right now is that we're on our 2nd year of focusing on numeracy. And when I arrived at Chase River in 2019, we were just entering the 3rd year of us being a focus school. So literacy was obviously our main focus at the time. But as we moved into the 2021 year, we started talking about where did we want to go next, and numeracy kept coming up more and more. And we started right away in the fall of 2020 having conversations around it. We set up Jeff Micklin and Tanis Calder, who are district coordinators. They came in February to do Pro D with us. Before that, I was sharing some different resources for them to get, start trying in their classrooms. And by April of 2021, we had committed this is our next goal and really started to dive in what it would look like. One thing I created was a Google Classroom for our school, and what that allowed for staff to be able to post things that they're using, and also I was posting different resources as well. The key was these resources are not worksheets, they're not times tables, drills, or anything like that. They are things to really get kids thinking about numeracy and trying to show their problem solving. And it just built from there. And the key what we were talking about was, we talk about obviously any school plan is student improvement, but it wasn't just about their results. It was also about improvement of the practices that teachers were using and basing it more on the evidence-based information that's out there for us. And our goal for the students specifically in numeracy wasn't just getting better results in math, but also showing their improvement of the actual understanding of what it is they were being taught and what they were learning. So I'm going to just share a piece of our plan. And Jackie, you can see it. It's all good. I did this for like 2 years living on Teams. I don't think I've shared in a long time, so this is perfect. So if you can see on this area here, there's just this giant list of different things we started to attempt to do. And what it was different for each teacher, because obviously kindergarten to grade 7 is a huge gap. But what we were finding is some things that our kindergarten teachers were doing, we were seeing being done in grade 5 and 6 as well. So it just showed the broad range of different things that we were working on. Again, when you look at the stuff that's in there, it's stuff that where kids are getting a chance to work in groups. They're getting an opportunity to share their learning out in different ways. And that was a key piece to it. And what we started to realize was seeing how kids actually think something through, and they do come up with the right answer, but it's maybe not what our typical right way of doing things are. And I think for a long time in numeracy, what we've seen is we always say there's one way, but there's multiple ways. And it's very interesting watching kids very young break down how they've got the answer. I'm putting Claire a bit on the spot right now, but I've spent a lot of time in her class during her math. We actually co-taught a lesson a year ago, and it's very interesting. We walked out of that lesson going, that's amazing how that one student came up with their answer. They really figured it out differently from what we would expect to see maybe. And I think that's the piece that we're really trying to hammer home is there's multiple ways to show it. So now that I've mentioned Claire, I'm going to stop sharing, and she's actually going to come on and share with you something she does pretty much every day with her class. And it's amazing to watch these kids do it. So I'll welcome Claire to the group.
All right, thank you. Can everybody hear me? I also don't think I've been on a Teams meeting for 2 years, so forgive me here. I'm gonna pull up my screen here. I teach with a presentation behind me all the time, so that's what I'm gonna do right now that I can hide. Okay, so in my classroom, I do 3 main things. I use a splat every day, I do a number talk, and I teach with Carol Fullerton, and I'm just gonna model what a splat would look like in a classroom setting. So what I do is they all have their whiteboards and they have a whiteboard marker, and I start with a blank screen, and I'm gonna flash up some dots, and I'm gonna keep it really quick, and you're gonna have to guess or give a good estimate about how many dots they are. So it goes really fast. I do it super fast. They write their estimate down. I do it like 3 times and they write it down. And then I display what number is how many dots they are. And we talk about what's too high, what's too low. And at the beginning of the year, they're like 1 billion, but now they're like, oh, 20 is too high and 5 is too low. So then what happens, we cover the splats. And what they're doing is they're making fact families. So I'll pull up the screen here. So we have 11 is our total. The kids will shout out, oh, there's 5 splats not covered. And so, oh, well, how many are underneath? They'll say, oh, there's 6. But this is what's the cool part. I teach 2-3, And now we're doing group subs. So I never thought I'd teach multiplication in a grade 2-3 class, but all of a sudden they're drawing circles on their whiteboards and they're putting those 6 into 2 groups already. And they're telling me that 6 is the same as 2 groups of 3. From there, if you are like on my diverse learners and you're just knowing 11, 5, and 6, they'll do the numbers on the left, the fact families on the left. But funny enough, a lot of my kids like to challenge themselves and come up with the numbers on the right, which is super exciting too. So that's just a splat. I used to just do 1, but the kids love it. I do 2 or 3 a day, and they just cheer like we're having a party in there. It's pretty crazy. So that's my splat. And then I do number talk. So this was one I did already today, and it's amazing the answers they can come up with. Some of them instantly see that that could represent 6. Somebody told me there was 12 halves. Somebody said there was 8 more halves until you make the group of 10. So what do you see? What do you know? And there's no wrong answers. They look at patterning. And the other great one that I really love is looking at hundreds charts. Because again, some of them will say, oh, 2 whites and a blue, 2 whites and a blue. And others were like, oh, you can see that it goes even odd or odd even all the way down. So just talking about numbers, seeing them in a different way, putting them together. And like I say, it's really a fun thing to see when they are in grade 2 and they're doing multiplication or they're telling you things that you didn't even see. So, and then Carol Fullerton's great, the hands-on learning rather than worksheets. We're doing games and activities and groups, and it's just a lot of fun. So that is mine.
Thank you, Claire, for sharing that. And Joe, if you're ready to go, we'll get you sharing what you're going to do.
Great. First, thanks so much for having us on to chat. It's a great opportunity. The past couple of years have been filled for me with lots of learning surrounding math. I'd been feeling for a while that what I was doing just wasn't working, and the kids, they weren't learning from worksheets or textbooks or just memorizing an algorithm. So I've changed to a much more like a discussion and question learning, and then following it up with practice and repetition through a lot of those Carol Fullerton games. Some of the cool things that we've talked about this year is when multiplying by 5, they're learning to just multiply by 10, so adding the 0 and then dividing by 2 and getting the answer that way. So then they don't have to count on their fingers forever by 5s. We also, like Claire, do a number talk or a problem of the day. And today we were talking about common factors, and we had eliminated 3 as a common factor. And one of the kids shouted out, well, if 3 isn't a common factor, it can't be 6 either. And it was just like I hadn't sort of, you know, mentally kind of figured that as part of it. And I was like, yeah, that's really cool. A great discussion. Another thing that I've done is using Spheros, and Spheros are a robot that you can code. They kind of look like a ball. And I've used the coding through the Spheros to show their learning through fractions or through when we do geometry, making different squares or rhombuses or parallelograms. So they'll actually code the Sphero to draw a square or a rectangle. So they use kind of some just different ways to show their learning. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing in my classroom.
Thanks, Joe, for sharing that. One of the things we had to determine, like anytime you have a plan, is how are we going to assess this? And we had some debate about it, and there is no simple math. We have a PARS for, you know, our elementary students. We have literacy for the intermediate students. They're district wide. We don't have a common math assessment. So what we actually decided to do was our follow-up at the end of last year was anecdotal reporting from teachers, what was working, what maybe needs to be changed. But one word that kept coming up was engagement. And teacher after teacher said, when I tried this, I found students having more fun, more engaged. And Claire made that comment of kids are cheering and yelling. I was in a grade 6 class earlier this year, and they were doing estimating math, and it's just, you know, guess how many are in the jar, right? And every time they eliminated another clue, you'd hear kids like, yes, I'm still in it, right? I guess I still have the right one possibly. And there was so much engagement. And that teacher later said, he goes, I haven't had my kids this engaged all year. So people are seeing that. And I think I can say right now, more than half of our staff is engaged in this wholeheartedly. Like they've bought in and said, we're doing this. Like anytime there's shifts and changes, there's some debate, of course, of best practices. And some people will say, no, I really believe in this way of doing it. But everybody has tried a little bit, and everybody who's tried it has said, like I said earlier, kids are engaged. This is really working. And it's just that small chip away. And then there's some that have just, you know, they're right in, they're having a great time. Claire, Joe, they've changed their practices and they're seeing positive results with the kids. And that's the most important piece to it. So we just keep rolling along with the numeracy here, and we're seeing great results. And I know Claire mentioned, you know, grade 2 and 3 basically are doing multiplication without doing multiplication, like knowing, you know, it's not a drill in practice, but they're doing multiplication. So it'll be interesting to find out in 3-4 years as they're in the higher intermediate grades, will they have their will they have their facts down without having to drill and practice constantly? So are there any questions for us?
Thanks. Thanks very much, David. Just going to put my camera on. If people have questions, I was wondering if you could put them in the chat, and then I can sort of follow along and allow people. So Mark Robinson has a question. Trustee Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Joe, actually, I had a quick question. I was very interested in your methodology in terms of doing the multiply by 10 as opposed to multiply by 5, but I didn't catch what grade range that was. Could you let me know what grade that was? Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, no problem. I teach grade 4-5.
Great. Do we have any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Thank you so much. Oh no, Mark just said thank you. Thanks very much to your school, David, and I really have to say that I appreciate innovative ways of getting kids to become engaged. And I've always believed that the hands-on learning and the interactive learning is sort of the best way to get kids motivated and inspired. So thank you very much. And we'll send it back to Don.
Thank you. Through the chair, I recognize that Trustee Morvay has a question for
yeah.
Dave and team just before we move on with the Dover Bay team. So
Sorry, Naomi, I didn't get it in there fast enough. I'm trying to type and my hands were getting all messed up on the keyboard here. My question is, there's some amazing things that are happening there. I've heard a little bit about that kind of teaching, but it's really great to hear like further like what's being done in practice. Is there an opportunity to share that across the district, or like is there learning opportunities that are happening with that kind of thing? Like, hey, this is, you know, successful. I mean, we're doing it here, obviously, but is there anything more that is happening kind of behind the scenes sort of thing? Yeah, because this is amazing stuff. I think it's great for all learners, especially learners who might have math disabilities and stuff like that. This is a really great way to show that. So thank you.
I can jump in if you'd like, David, and if you want to add to it. So yes, we do. Carol Fullerton is one of the ones that they spoke to. We actually have a Carol Fullerton series that's happening through our Director of Instruction with our learning coordinators, where schools have sent school teams, both primary and intermediate, to be able to come. And then we do have Carol Fullerton coming out to some of our schools and doing some learning rounds. We also have our learning coordinator team that last year started working on a document that's called Math Indicators of Proficiency, that does have strategies and resources that focus on looking at numeracy in a different way and making sure that it's more engaging and more interactive. So there are different pieces happening with our learning coordinator team and getting out into our schools.
Thank you very much.
You. Okay, I'll ask one more time. Is there any more questions? Okay, back to you, Don.
awesome, thank you. I see the superintendent popping on, so maybe I'll give him the last word before we let the Chase River team sign off for the night.
Yeah, if that's okay through you, Chair.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to share my appreciation for Mr. Cooper and the team, Mr. Duclos and Miss James. Thank you for sharing a little bit about what happens at your school around numeracy. I particularly like the SPLAT exercise. I'm impressed always when I see some of the things teachers are doing in classrooms, and
nice job this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chase River team. And now we'd like to turn it over to our Dover Bay crew, which are assembled in the library of the team. And I'll turn it over to Principal Jeff Steele to introduce his team.
Hi, Squirrel, everyone. You can hear us. That's great. So I do have a whole team here, and it's our pleasure to be sharing with you. And we do have a PowerPoint, so I'll be the host to get it going, and then I'll be passing the baton to a number of great folks here. If I can find my document. See it down here. We have done this before. Yeah, it's down there, but where is it?
While you're queuing up your document there, Jeff, you're doing a great advertisement of the 30-year logo there on your swag, your Dover Bay, so it looks good.
How come I can't see the thumbnail? I do. Yeah, so if I just hit share and then hit it.
Oh, you have to share it. You have to share your.
John, you should tell a joke here.
It's a public meeting, Mr. Steele, so we'll just be supportive of you getting this queued up.
We just had it.
Oh, there we go.
There it is. Okay.
Okay, we can see your screen. Looks good.
Slideshow, yeah.
And there you go. Yep.
Great job, Jeff.
There you go. Sorry about that. For all the new trustees, normally we're not this disorganized, but here we are this evening. So we are located at Dover Bay, and within our school, whenever we formally gather or have meetings, we always want to acknowledge our territory, and the Snanawas territory is where we live, learn, work, and play, and we're very humbled to have that privilege to be on such a beautiful territory. And we have a Dover Bay vision statement, which I'd like to share with all of you. And our vision is education that inspires our community to be kind, connected, and resilient for a changing world. And this vision was created through a thought exchange where we solicited feedback from our students, from our families, and from our staff as to the type of school that we would like to be. So this is our North Star, and it's guided us through the pandemic, and it's served us well so far. Our presentation team this evening, we're delighted to have Sumquatan, a knowledge keeper. He will be here with us today. Michelle Kamelkoff, who's our teacher for Indigenous education. Alistair King, teacher and learning leader for social studies and truth and reconciliation. And we have 2 Eco Club students, and we actually have Clarice Tice. She should have been on the slide here. She is our learning leader for science and environmental sustainability. And our 2 students will be Athira and Hiroki, and they will be the primary speakers for our environmental sustainability goal. I threw this slide up not to dazzle you with all the detail, but what Don Belcombe had referenced is, just providing an overview for our trustees with how district plans get translated at the school level. So we can see that there's 4 key goals and objectives, and I know there's more than this within our school district, but continuous improvement of instruction and assessment, safe, caring, and healthy learning work environment, environmental sustainability, and truth and reconciliation. So when the school district comes up and they build their strategic plans and they put all the work into it at the school level, we want to put those into action. And within our school, and this is just the headings of our school goals, you'll notice that our 4 main school goals are in alignment with that strategic plan. So we also have continuous improvement of instruction and assessment, inclusive learning and work environment, truth and reconciliation, and environmental sustainability. And to create the goals and to Doverize them, we actually bring for the most part, for school goals, we bring staff together, create input on how we want to put these into practice within our school. And I always like these to be living documents, and we will revise them. So we brought these 4 goals into play in the spring of 2020, which you may remember as a pretty, stressful period of time, but we were able to work through a process to bring them up. And since we brought them in, we've actually revised 3 of them already. And it sounds strange, but when you're working within the school, you want to make sure they fit your school. And the one that we're going to focus on 2 of these this evening. We will, unfold a little bit of what's happening at our school around truth and reconciliation, and then just give you a snapshot of environmental stewardship and sustainability. And if you want to hear about the other 2, you'll have to invite us back. So we hope we do as well as Chase River just did. So I'm going to pass the torch over to Alistair King to do the introduction for Truth and Reconciliation. Mr. King.
Sure. Michelle, would you join me?
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for having us at the board meeting. It's definitely working. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Hopefully they can hear us.
Hopefully they can hear us. I'm Alistair King, and of course I'm introducing Michelle.
Yes, I'm Michelle Kalmakoff, the Indigenous Education Support Teacher here.
Yeah, and we actually don't have a script that we're going to go through today. We were just going to relate some of the great things that are happening at Dover Bay, and the document that you're looking at right now. Even the position that I'm holding right now as learning leader for Truth and Reconciliation was, I believe, a new position that they coupled with social studies. And one of the first tasks that I was, that came up was revisiting the goal that you're looking at right now. And we were blessed at the time to have Uncle George in the school, who was visiting quite regularly. And as you can see, the Truth and Reconciliation, the main goal is Thuit, Tuna, Squalls, Toot, Snetnawis, Eat, Dover Bay Secondary School, Thwa. And I'm mistaking that. You can see some Guatan in the background laughing a little bit. My pronunciation isn't great, but the idea behind it is quite powerful. And the main thing that we've been trying to do as a team here, and Michelle and I have been working together this year, is to create that a stronger relationship with Snetnawis. And you can see there's like 4 quadrants on the screen. And even though we haven't actually looked at this document, I can say for certain that we've in every area we've made strides.
Yeah, we're doing work on all 4 quadrants, I'd say. We've been really working to build relationships between students, educators, families, and the Snetnawis territory. And it kind of ties into the goal beneath it, inviting elders, knowledge keepers, and Indigenous voices into the learning space. We're really lucky to have some Guatan in our school twice a week visiting, and he's available for teachers to sign up to have him come and speak with their students on pretty much any topic. He also does a drum circle in Dover Bay once a month. We have a elder from Snetnawis, Auntie Shirley, who's been coming in once a month with her adult children, and they've been cooking with students, which has been going really well. Students love cooking with Auntie Shirley, and just spending the morning with her, making bannock and soup, or we made spaghetti last week.
And we've also been taking strides to make sure that we're in lockstep with Canada's goals of truth and reconciliation as well. For example, we've been doing some professional development as a school. The last school year, we had a school-wide professional development day where we had Auntie Barbara come in from Snetnawis, and it was a really powerful experience, kind of that relationship building, storytelling. And we had a celebration here at the school on June 21st for the National Indigenous Peoples Day. All the students and staff got to eat bannock, and there was some learning that happened in the classrooms associated with that. And then the big thing that happened this fall was our school put on for the first time at Dover Bay an assembly for Truth and Reconciliation Day, or Orange Shirt Day. And it was, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I thought it was pretty powerful.
It was a powerful assembly for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
and a good experience, in keeping with the tone that we were hoping for. And the students actually prepared 2 large, I think, is there?
Oh, can we? Okay,
Uh,
there's somewhere.
Well, there's a picture coming
Yeah,
up. You
there's
can
a
look
picture.
forward to it. There's these large orange feathers that are cut out, and the students had an opportunity to write messages of hope and reconciliation on them. And we're in the process of getting those feathers put up on the fence near our on McGurr, which is the main road by the school. And you know, some quad night. I don't know if you have an opportunity, if you want to come up and join us, because it's been an amazing experience to have a knowledge keeper like some quad at our school. Don't know how, kind of mixed up the order here. Some quad was supposed to speak first, but having you at the school has been a blessing for us as educators. When some Quaden comes to my classroom, he's a co-teacher, and he's visited me in philosophy class and every other class in the school. Yeah, and we've been working as a group to do some PLC work. There's a Hulkaminum PLC group that we're doing a word of the week, which we're going to show you if we have the technological capability to play you a video. Some Quaden could probably do it live, which is a lot better. But we've got 12 short videos that we're playing each week, and then students will experience that in a time slot on Tuesdays, and then have a chance to practice these words. This week's word is Heichka, which we're all familiar with, but I've been pronouncing it wrong, apparently. It sounded pretty good. So we've got some slides to show you, and of course we'll welcome any questions that the board might have about it. Mr. Steele, yeah, can maybe advance the slides here. Here's a picture of some Quaden and Jalen and Kira, who were gracious enough to come to our school and help out. They've been helping out in a number of areas, and so we're grateful to have them. And got some other photographs, I think. Some Quaden, would you like to speak?
If I got up to speak first, I would have said, how can we follow that presentation? And I never knew math could be so fun. So, Heights Apka Makwait, Tietzel Namit, Tana Wanand, Heights Apka, Naslikwanis Tsias Dochter Eli Nashwalakwa, Tana Wanand, Nanu Thema CIs, Tana Wanand. Nimu Hidok Tanashkwalawan, Aitzaka. Just thanking my relatives for bringing me forward and inviting me here to be here today, and express my gratitude for being able to come forward in a very meaningful way to share the world as I see it through my Snout-Nawas heart and my Snout-Nawas spirit. And I really see it making a big impact, not only with the students, but with the teachers as well. You know, I walk through the halls and kids are like, can I give you a hug? And I'm like, okay, Aichka. Like, you don't turn down a hug, you know, I touch somebody's, I open them up to the beauty that they behold. And teachers are coming up to me asking about Hulkaminum all the time. And it's like creating an aura inside the school, pushing everything away, that historical stereotypes that, you know, education brings. And that's, you know, through the work of the board, through the, you know, the support of Brother Scott there and the previous board and everybody, you know, especially my grandpas and my grandmas. You know, if they didn't fight as hard as they did, you know, I wouldn't have been able to walk in these doors. And because of that, you know, I'm brought to a better place. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, this school flourish, and really proud of the fact that they're trying really hard and they're meeting them, and everything that we're going to be doing in this school makes me wish I was a teenager to come to this school. So I'm just really grateful to be here. Hachka.
Yeah, I think we're the lucky ones in this case. We've got a video that we can show you. Will this play?
Do we have the sound shared?
I don't know if we can send a link to the Hulkamita Word of the Week. There's 12 of them, so we can send them all to you if you'd like. And I think.
Oh yeah, there's the feather.
There's the feather.
One of them. We did 2 for the Truth and Reconciliation Day Assembly. So that was a powerful day. We had lots of Indigenous voices speaking and sharing, and then we had these 2 wooden feathers available for students to write messages on and sign. And as Alistair said, they're going to be displayed outside of the school. And that's a photograph from last week's Cooking with Auntie Shirley. So it was pretty busy and kids had a lot of fun spending time with that family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me doing a smudge with some students in Contemporary Indigenous Studies 12.
Great.
Yeah.
Hi, Sepka. Thank you
Hi,
for
Sepka.
having us come in. Thank you.
We're just going to transition from that school goal into environmental sustainability and stewardship. So I might have Ms. Tice join us just to introduce the next speakers.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Mrs. Tice, Clarice Tice, and I am the learning leader for environmental sustainability and also for science. And I'm also one of the teacher sponsors for Dover's Amazing Eco Club. The Eco Club at Dover's is very much a driving force behind the environmental stewardship and sustainability goal at our school here. And today we have 2 Eco Club students here, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you all about the kinds of things they do at Dover. So here they are.
Move closer. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Athira. I'm the president of Eco Club.
And my name's Saroki. I'm an executive member of Eco Club.
And today we're here to talk a little bit about our club, our initiatives, and how we try to make a better impact on our own school community. So this is a couple pictures we have. And so first, Eco Club is a student-led club. And we have 8 main execs who take care of our core initiatives. And we have 50+ members who are ongoing. And we mainly what we basically try to do is make a greener place for all by doing sorry, this is a little stressful. So thank you. So Eco Club is a student-led program, and what we do is try to make a greener place for all by doing beach cleanup, park cleanups, and other stuff like food forest, native plant garden, and paper recycling, which we will talk about later on in our slideshow.
Yeah, and we also do a lot of other fun activities like, well, as Athira mentioned, the pumpkin carving, but we also do like a Christmas party and yeah. So, oh yeah. So for the month of April, we dedicate that as Earth Month to celebrate International Earth Day. So during that month, we also hold numerous activities that the entire school participates in. So yeah. And should I say more? Or, oh, okay.
Okay. So next we have Food Forest. So Food Forest is one of our main initiatives that we focus on. And the food forest is basically a small garden out in front of our school, which Eco Club maintains. And in the garden, we have lots of fruits, vegetables, herbs, and what we do is we basically take care of the garden through the whole year, including the summer. So we have specific students just coming, watering, and maintaining the garden. And the whole point of this initiative was to get more people involved in hands-on experiences that they generally would not get in their daily life. And by joining this club, I realized how many people have never even planted a flower before. And I feel like this is a good hands-on experience that people can experience that they might not be able to do at home. And through this food forest, we've also do a lot of seed collecting, because over the years we saw how many seeds were going to waste. So with the seeds, we decided to do a seed sale 3 years ago. And the process of this is we collect seeds through the summer, and then we do seed germination tests to see how much of it is actually sellable. And then with the ones that are, we usually create seed packets from scratch, which our art club students create. And then we print those seed designs onto recycled paper, trying to use our resources wisely. And then we assemble seed packets, fill seeds, and then we sell it to our school community. And this year we're hoping to broaden it out a bit and sell it to the farmers market, trying to get more people kind of getting to know our initiative and what we're doing. And all the money that we get from this, we will put towards a fundraiser that's nonprofit of the club's choice. And last year we decided to put it towards old growth trees and trying to support that initiative. And the year before, we decided to donate it to a family who lost their house in a fire. So this year, closer to the time we, as a group, we usually decide what to do with the money. And this is a good way to get more involvement in our own school community.
So recycling stations is another one of our initiatives, and our goal is to sort of promote better waste distribution throughout the school by providing a convenient way for students and staff to recycle and compost. So what you see there in the slide is a recycling station. So we purchased 12 of them to put around the school 2 years ago. And they consist of a paper recycling, compost, garbage bin, as well as a bottle recycling. And so we've also designed posters so that students know sort of where common items belong in the recycling station. And on top of that, we also do presentations to a lot of classes. So last year we presented to grade 8s, 9s, and 10s. This year we're presenting to 8s again. And these presentations are to both educate students on how to use them properly and to sort of push them to actually use it. And it's also to convince teachers and their classes to give us their garbage bins so that this also reduces the number of garbage bags used by the school. And again, it pushes the students to actually use the bins instead of just putting everything into the garbage. We also perform waste audits. So in that image, we wear gloves. And we sort of sort through all of the bins. We take 3 bins at a time, and we collect data from the contaminants, and we use that to improve upon both our presentations and posters so that students hopefully contaminate the bins less. And we also do paper recycling. So that is a weekly activity that we see a lot of new members to Eco Club do. And so students just go around to collect paper because in Dover, each classroom has its own paper recycling bin. So yeah, this is a way for a lot of our students to sort of get to know the club and to have an easy way to start volunteering.
And next we have Native Plant Garden. So Native Plant Garden is a fairly new initiative which we started in 2020. And the whole point of this was to revamp an old area which we have in the back of our school. It was pretty wound up with weeds and a lot of invasive species. So what we wanted to do was get rid of all of the invasive species and put more native plants in that are native to our land right here in BC, and trying to make people aware of the plants that we have here that are sustainable to the land we live on. And from this, what we wanted to do is make it so that classes, like science classes, can come in and do lessons in there about the native plants, their uses, and we also wanted to include Indigenous aspect onto it. So we wanted to have the English name, the Hulkaminam name, and how a description of the plant, and also how it was used in Indigenous ways, because we have plants like sword fern, which was also used in Indigenous ways. So we were hoping to get different aspects on it. And we also want the space to be something not just for Eco Club, but also for the school. So this is a space where teachers can come with classes, or if an art student wants inspiration, they can come to sketch the plants in there, and just get all our school involved in it and not just Eco Club.
So Energy Ambassadors is something that we hold during the winter months, and it mainly consists of us participating in the district-wide Energy Cup, which is a competition to see which school in the district can reduce save the most amount of energy. So, and the winning team gets $2,500, and I believe second place wins $1,000. So last year we won second, the year before we won first, and we're trying to win it again. So, some of the activities that we do is closing the blinds so that the school gets insulated better. And we also unplug a lot of the school's electronics before winter and spring breaks, just so that electricity doesn't get wasted. And yeah, we audit the energy and keep track of it so that we can win the competition.
And that was the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And we will be passing it to Mr. Steele.
So thanks, everyone, and it's a pleasure for us to share a little insight into what happens at a secondary school level and Dover Bay in particular. So I'd like to thank my team, and I can stop sharing my screen here and we can see if there are any questions from the board.
Any questions from anyone? Mark Robinson, Trustee Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Mr. Steele. You and your team did an awesome presentation. Hachka, thank you so much. I have a question for, and Athena, excellent presentation. I really hope you guys get first place again. First place, second place is all good, but I hope you get first place. I was a Dover Bay Dolphin, so good luck. Work hard for it. My question is for Alistair. Is he there?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Alistair, you mentioned visits with Auntie Shirley, Auntie Barbara, Uncle George. My quick question would be, through those visits, what could you say would be one of your more memorable impacts, something that is impressed upon you and you've learned with their visit? Thank you.
It's asking me to unmute. Is that what I do?
No, you're on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. These visits, it's an interesting experience for me with my, settler ancestry. Usually we come to these kinds of sessions with preconceived notions of what to expect. And the thing that I've been impressed by, and this is my own personal experience when we had Auntie Barbara come for our professional development day, was it was the first time that our staff had got together in the same room and shared personal experiences with one another. And so it wasn't so much what we learned from Barbara Barltrop, it was just that invitation for relationship that we're all busy people, it's a large staff, and we don't really have an opportunity to say where we're from or who our parents are or how we came to be in Nanaimo. And Barbara really insisted that we sit down and we get to know each other. And so that's just one experience of many. It's just a different way of doing education, and it's timely and it's meaningful. And I don't know if I've even answered your question, but that's kind of my experience anyway.
All right, Trustee Keller has a question.
Thank you, Chair. So a question through you to staff. First a comment and a question, if that's okay. So I just wanted to comment on the presentation about the Eco Club at Dover Bay. It's fantastic. I really like learning more about what the schools are doing to help work towards the board's goal. Specifically in this case, to becoming leaders in environmental stewardship. It did, however, leave me with a good question, I think, which was when I was watching the presentation, I couldn't help but think of all the learning that was happening there. They weren't just separating waste streams into different, bins, and they weren't just planting seeds and learning about native plants. There was an inquiry, there was an assessment, there was, all kinds of learning going on there, and it made me wonder around how we might encourage more students to get involved. Is there a way for us to offer credits for this kind of thing, where students, maybe through a board-approved course or other means, can actually get support and go on sort of a self-learning, somewhat focused in this case, of course, through environmental sustainability and stewardship, but to think about that, and that's I'll maybe phrase that as a question. What options does the board have to consider something like this as a board-approved course?
Thank you, and through the chair, what a great question. And I'll just comment that as you're well aware, the Eco Club at Dover Bay has been in place for a very long time, and they have that outdoor space that they've been tending to for a number of years. And almost, well, not all of our schools, but most of our schools, kindergarten through grade 12, are looking at more land-based outdoor learning opportunities. And the curriculum provides lots of opportunities for those learning to take place within the curriculum. But I love the idea of a board authorized course around what's missing from the curriculum, that sustainability, the environmental stewardship, the learning that's taken place for those students in the Eco Club. If they've, and I imagine those two students have been members of Eco Club for a number of years. So if you can imagine a 5-year experience of being out there and removing invasive plants and planting native species and doing that work, the amount of learning that they have accumulated over those years, we should recognize and find ways to apply that with an eye for where do they want to take that learning going forward. So I love that idea, and I'm sure Ms. Tice, who's there, and other colleagues around the district will be thinking when we put the call out for which board authorized courses would you like to create. That might be one that a group of teachers get together and explore further.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Rokeby has a question.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And just to jump onto Greg's idea there, we'd like to see how we could support these outdoor endeavors from an operational standpoint as well. So I'd like to see some kind of idea about what does a teacher need to go and effectively teach outside. I know that after the lockdown, when we were trying to teach outside, we ran into such practical considerations like access to power, seasonal cover for weather, areas to quick access to washrooms and change areas. So I'm hoping that as we try to move out these wonderful student and staff initiatives across the district, we not only standardize it within the curriculum by a local developed course, but that we standardize it by offering a reliable set of a definition of what an outdoor classroom is, so that teachers can begin to develop their programming with a set of expectations from us in mind as well. Thank you.
Can I make a quick comment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thanks, Mr. Rokeby. One of the systems that we have within our school district is for schools to create a priority list of projects that they would like to see done at the schools. So within our school, we've got our top priority would be an outdoor learning space. We don't know exactly everything that it would look like, but it would certainly be involve a covered area, some seating, and be in a nice part of the campus where classes could come outside and learn in that kind of space. So those conversations are happening. And you know, I drove past Bowser Elementary. They've got a great outdoor learning space out there. If you pop off the highway to take a look at one that could be a good exemplar, and I think some schools are in the progress with that right now. So yes, that would certainly be one way to encourage students to get outside. And then outdoor education has been blossoming across the school district. And, you know, we've had students off on trips, climbing Mount Benson, going to Horn Lake, going to the cave. So there's that connectivity to Earth is certainly starting to really ramp up.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Any other questions? I'll just make a comment. Oh, Mr. Saywell.
Well, you were probably going to wrap it up as I was, so maybe through you, Chair, and you can have the final word. I just wanted to again share my great appreciation for the Dover Bay team joining us this evening. Great presentation, a great example of how the board's goals find their way into school goals and ultimately into the classrooms. Love the presentation by the students, Athira and Hiroki. What could be better than a couple of students presenting on environmental stewardship? Loved all the initiatives and a sincere appreciation for your leadership. Finally, I just wanted to mention that it warms my heart, Samquatan, my brother, that you are clearly part of the Dover Bay family. And you found a home there. And so, Haichka, to you. Maybe a last comment. It was mentioned that, Alistair, you're the learning leader for Truth and Reconciliation. And I just wanted to share with the board how profound that is, because, you know, along with support from the NDTA, we used to have only sort of typical department heads, you know, only a few short years ago. So I really like to see that we have teacher leadership in these sort of new areas. And not that it's not important to have English department heads or socials or math. We still have those, but what a profound leadership role to be a leader of Truth and Reconciliation. And since I pointed you out, Alistair, you were also, congratulations once again, because you were chosen, I might not have this right, but the Teachers Institute on Canadian Parliament or something like that?
Yeah, it's something like that.
23rd or 24th, is that right, Alistair?
Yeah, that's right. It's a Teachers Institute in Ottawa. I get to go and participate in some Pro-D with other teachers across Canada.
Yeah, that's a week-long thing.
Yeah, it is. That's right. Yeah.
Well, congratulations again. I just remembered, and that's coming up pretty quick, eh?
February, actually. So.
All right. Well, Haisepka to everyone. Great presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Superintendent Saywell. Yeah, I just was basically going to say the same thing. I've worked with Clarice and Alistair. Actually, Alistair learned everything from me. Yeah. I was his sponsor teacher, so when he was doing his practicum, I'm just thrilled, and I just know how hard the two of you work, and I just find it very exciting that so much that's happening at the school. Michelle, I think it's wonderful, the program that you're doing, and Samquatan, you're finally there. You used to come and visit us, but now you're there, and Dawn and I can remember that. So I just feel that Dover Bay is in such good hands with the four of you in all that you're doing, and it's beautiful how it's so interconnected, what you're teaching and what you're doing, and it is meeting our goals. So thank you very much for the great presentation. Okay, so moving on from our Department of Learning Services. We're moving on to 8.2, which is the local 3-year calendar. Don?
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and I was just going to encourage the Dover Bay team to head off for their evening. They're more than welcome to listen to the calendar conversation, but with great appreciation, so thank you again for that. It's my great pleasure to share with trustees this evening just a little bit of the process that the calendar committee goes through to create what's come before you in your information sheet and appendix around a 3-year proposed calendar. So in the information sheet, there's some background information on the requirements to create a calendar. So some of them are, excuse me, some of them are within the School Act and regulations, and some of our calendar decisions are related to our collective agreement with our NDTA and CUPE members. So I won't go through all of the stuff in the information sheet, but I will point out a few things. So some of the things that are bound decided for us are around the beginning and the end of the school year, the length of the school days, the number of non-instructional days are some of the things that we don't have much say on. Some of the influence we do have, though, is where we place those days. And the ministry a number of years ago allowed boards to prepare calendars and submit them for up to a 3-year window. So at one time, boards used to propose a calendar for approval through the ministry 1 year at a time. And we're very thankful that we're able to submit a 3-year calendar because it provides families and schools an opportunity to look forward 1 year, 2, 3 years to plan for what the calendar will look like. So we're happy to prepare a proposed 3-year calendar for consideration for the trustees. There's a window of public consultation that's required for public consultation, and that window is 30 days. So we're hoping that the board will give some consideration to this particular proposal and make recommendations to put this out to public consultation over the Christmas winter break, as well as through the end of January, so that we can come back with some further consultation and recommendations in February for a submission down to the ministry for final approval by March 31st. So that's kind of the timeline. The number of hours of instruction that are required for kindergarten, grade 1 to 7 and grade 8 to 12 is part of what we build our calendar around. The most influence we have or flexibility we have is around our placement of where the professional development days land, where our winter breaks are and where our spring breaks are. And so with input from the public and input from our user groups, we have an ad hoc calendar committee, as well as a joint professional development committee that gave consideration to the placement of these days. And we tried to balance out several things. So one is, what are the needs of our families? What are our neighboring districts doing? And what's best for professional learning? And so there's a balance there. So some people will say the best professional learning is consecutive days together. Some feedback from families will be, please separate the days because it's difficult to get childcare arrangements for that. And so we tried to balance out that, as well as looking at where the natural statutory holidays fall and balancing that out. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes when this year in October, for example, we had several 4-day weeks because we had a professional development day. We had a statutory holiday. Then we had another professional development day, and we got feedback. You know, there's so many days in a single month where families are scrambling to provide childcare. So we tried to keep some separation, except in places where having separation it was better to put them together. So for example, if you go down, I'm just going to talk about the calendar. In my schedule, it's page 9 of 12, and you get onto page 10 of 12. Hopefully that lines up with your agenda, and you'll see the calendar, proposed calendar for 23-24, and then on the next page, 24-25, and then the following page, the 2025-2026 year. And you'll see the color coding scheme for that. You'll see where the statutory holidays fall in blue, the vacation period in green, the non-instructional days in that light brown, and the administrative day at the end of the year. We know that there will probably have to be an amendment to the calendar sometime in the spring, as we have not been given direction on what the September 30th statutory holiday will be like. So we don't know whether it's going to be on the September 30th, whether it's on a weekend or not. So we don't, like, next year, the September 30th is on a Saturday, so we know that it'll be a statutory holiday on the Saturday. We don't know whether, as a school system, there will be a day in session on Monday, October the 2nd, or whether that day will be deemed a statutory holiday for our calendar purposes. So we know there might be some amendments to the calendar, but I'm just going to talk through the thinking of the committee as we place the non-instructional days. So if you're looking at that calendar, I'll show you where it is. A lot of feedback from communities were, please stay away from the first month of school for professional development days. So we have in the past had Pro D days in September. This proposal is we do not have any days in September, knowing that the September 30th Truth and Reconciliation Day may end up having students out of school one day in September or the first day of October. Many families have said, please don't have those consecutive weeks in a row in October with 4-day weeks. So we have Thanksgiving very early this year, this coming year, on October the 9th. The October 20th Professional Development Day is a Provincial Specialist Association Day. So all school districts around the province will have Friday, October the 20th as a Professional Development Day. That allows our teachers to go to Provincial Specialist Association conferences that are often held on the Lower Mainland, or remotely they will log in here and participate in that. So that's that day set there. The calendar committee did not recommend putting any other professional development days into October. Tried to provide a bit of separation between October 20th and the first school-based professional development day, which in this calendar would be November the 3rd, which has some separation with the Remembrance Day recognition, which is the stat falls on the 13th of November. No professional development days scheduled for December or January. The winter break is scheduled for the last day of regular classes on the 22nd of December, and then returning on January 8th. The two professional development days in February, the first day, the Monday, is a district day, which is organized by the NDTA, and we have as a committee recommend putting a school-based day on Tuesday, February the 6th. The reason being that many school-based professional development committees plan a day that's thematically aligned with the district day on February 5th. So that's why there's two consecutive days back to back in February. And then the next professional development day, April 29th. And you'll notice that in all three calendars, proposed calendars for the next 3 years, we have the last professional development day falling the last day of school before the administrative day. So in the 2023-2024 year, the administrative day is the last Friday of June, which is June 28th. And we've placed the last non-instructional day the day before that. And that was through consultation with the Joint Professional Development Day, as well as the Calendar Committee, with the desire to have professional development be a planning moment for implementation for the following year. So we had lots of conversation around summer professional development days, and some districts have had professional learning opportunities for teachers in the summer. Our collective agreement requires our non-instructional days to be within the calendar, within the bookends of the school year. So we would like to propose the last day of June in this next year, June 27th, being a professional development day for staffs to plan and prepare for the beginning of the following September. And so we've done that for all 3 consecutive years. The last thing I'm going to say before I open up a conversation with trustees is placement around spring break. We have proposed a 2-week spring break in each of the following 3 calendar years, knowing that there's still some negotiations. That's a negotiated piece with the NDTA on whether we have a 1-week or a 2-week spring break. So we're prepared to come back with a recommendation for a 1-week spring break if there's not agreement on where the 2-week spring break would be. We've tried to align our 2-week spring break proposals to align with neighboring districts, as well as either, as well as provide some separation where possible with the Easter holiday, where that lands. So you'll see in next year's proposed calendar, there's a 2-week spring break, the March 11th to the 22nd. We come back for a 4-day week, and then we're into the Easter weekend. In the following year, there's a 2-week spring break, March 17th to 28th, and then a full 2 weeks before Easter, because Easter falls late in that year. And then in the 2025-2026 year, again, where we have a 2 weeks from March 16th to the 27th, and then we come back for 2 4-day weeks around the Easter weekend. So I'm going to stop talking and open up the conversation if trustees have questions about the process that the work went through in those 2 committees.
Thank you, Don. Tom Rokeby, Trustee Rokeby has a question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm gonna go on camera here. Sorry. My initial comment was something that I brought back that I heard from the calendar committee meeting that I wanted to bring forward. And I think you just mentioned it now, but I'm not sure, that we've managed to align these choices with our neighboring district to the south, the Cowichan Valley. I'm hoping that we can get similar confirmation to the north from the Mount Arrowsmith district, and maybe we could hear back if that's the case. It's really important to me that staff are able to share holidays with their families. We have a lot of staff that work in both districts, and I think when it comes time to getting that refresh and recharge, I think doing without your family is something less than we'd expect for the quality of life we want for our staff. So that's a priority for me, so thank you. If I can continue with a question, it may, is that okay, Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. A little bit more of a balcony level question for you, Don. Thank you. Is PLC counted as direct instructional time when we're doing these calculations?
Yes, PLC is included in the instructional hours for the year.
Okay. Maybe to me, with students not in the building, that seems kind of counterintuitive. Can you unpack that a bit?
I would have to go back historically into the notes for when the PLC first came in. I believe that was probably about 7 years ago, on how they balanced out the minutes of that. So I think we can definitely bring that back to the trustees at a future time, unless I see the superintendent coming on, who may have that conversation closer at hand.
Great, thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Oh, sorry, I thought Scott was going to answer that maybe.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to agree with Dawn. Perhaps we can bring back instructional minutes at another time, if that's okay with the board.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just to answer the question around aligning with neighboring districts, Cowichan has shared their information with us around their proposed times, so that's why we knew we were in alignment with them. Parksville Qualicum has not made that public yet, so we're not sure whether we're aligned with them, but we're hoping that that things will align as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, so we have a motion on the table, and Trustee Lee has indicated she'd like to move the motion. Oh, and Ms. Trustee Robinson seconding it. So Trustee Lee, would you like to read the motion?
Okay, yeah, thank you through the chair. Sorry, my computer's got to catch up here. The Education Committee recommends that the Board of Education of School District Number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, make the attached 3-year draft local school calendar for 2023-24, 2024-25, and 2025-26 available to the public for 30 days, utilizing the consultation process as per board governance, section 1, 2.17, and report back at the February Education Committee meeting with recommendations.
Thank you, Trustee Lee. Would you like to motivate?
Yes, please. Thank you through the chair. I just want to acknowledge the amount of work that goes into setting the calendar, and I appreciate the movement that has been made towards the placement of the professional days based on considerations in prior years. I also really appreciate the layout of the calendar. It makes it very simple for parents to see a snapshot with the dates listed below as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Morvay, I noticed you had a question.
Sorry, yeah, I had a question before you before we motivated to the motion. Sorry, Chair. It's really just a through you, Chair. I'd like to ask. I see though in our agenda there is a line here that says the calendar committee is also prepared to make a recommendation of a 1-week spring break if necessary. I know pulling that out of there and talking about it perhaps is opening up a can of worms, but if I could just get some rationale behind that line, that would be really fantastic. Thank you. Or explanation, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And through the chair, so the agreement to go from a 1-week to a 2-week spring break is an agreement with the NDTA. And so each year there's a conversation around whether it's going to be recommended for 2 weeks or not. The difference in the calendar would be simply if we went back to a 1-week spring break, we would just add minutes to the day to make up for that or take minutes away from the day to make up for those. Add 5 days back in, reduce some minutes by the day to stay within the hours of instruction for the year. So that's how we would do that if we went from a 2-week to a 1-week.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I think I'm learning something here too with Teams that when I ask if there's any questions, I feel like I'm pausing long enough for people to put in their questions, but obviously I maybe need to have silence a little bit longer. So I apologize for that. So let's move back to the motion, and Trustee Lee has motivated it and Trustee Robinson seconded the motion. Are there any other comments on the motion before we go to a vote? Okay. So are there any opposed to the motion? And if you could put it in the chat box, please. Okay, the motion is passed. Moving on to item 9 in the agenda is correspondence referred from the regular board meeting. And I don't believe we have any. Item 10 was unfinished business, and I don't see any there as well. Item 11 is new business. Trustee Rokeby, you wanted to add an addition to the agenda, and I believe that's where it would fit in.
Thank you, Chair. This is just a friendly announcement. No action necessary by board this evening, but a timely announcement. I've had people reach out to me today trying to bring attention to some of the initiatives being performed in my zone down at the Barsby family of schools. Our elementary schools have a fantastic tradition of setting up gift galas and gift stores for their students. And we're finding that the donations are fairly tight this year. So by this Friday, one of the schools is going to have to decide whether they have the support to go ahead with this fantastic annual program. If you're not familiar, it's basically an opportunity for all students to come into a multi-purpose room gym setup and shop, quote unquote, at free of charge for a gift that they can buy and then wrap and give to a loved one. If anybody on the board or anyone who's listening has too much clutter around the house, like I know I did a week ago, I'd be happy to help you get that into the right place. I'm already arranging to do a bunch of pickups tomorrow in the neighborhood in the city, so please reach out if you think you can help. Thank you for this indulgence, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rokeby. Does anyone have any questions on that?
I have a quick question, Chair.
Hey, Trustee Robinson.
If someone from the public or a trustee can't get a hold of you, Tom, throughout the day, can they just drop it off at the school at Bayview?
Thank you very much, Trustee Robinson. Yeah, thank you. I should have included that. I'm specifically been hearing from Bayview today, but I know that a similar program is going on at Park Avenue and George Avenue. Trustee Morvay and myself were able to drop off some gifts at George Avenue, so we're just shifting our focus to a different school. But by all means, please support your neighborhood school and the staff that run these fantastic events for our students.
Okay, thank you very much, Trustee Rokeby, for sharing that with us. We move on to item 12, which is question period. I don't see there's any questions. So now I'm going to move to item 13, which is adjournment. Before we end, I just want to say this was my first time chairing the education committee, and there was a few glitches, but I'm learning, so thank you for being patient with me, and we'll move to have a motion to adjourn, and I can see that Trustee Lee has made the motion to adjourn, and Trustee Keller has seconded it. All those in favor? I mean, anyone opposed? All right.
I'm gonna have a little break in a minute.
Thank you.